I found his keys in my mailbox 3 days after he vanished. No note. No explanation. Just his keys, the same worn leather keychain I'd seen 1,000 times when he'd tossed them on my kitchen counter like he lived there. For context, I'm married. 12 years. 1 kid. Stable job. Predictable life. My friend, I'll call him Mark, had been part of that life for almost a decade. He wasn't just a friend. He was around constantly. BBQs, birthdays, random Tuesday nights. My wife liked him. Maybe more than I noticed. At the time, I thought his disappearance was just another one of his episodes. He had a history of ghosting people when things got hard. But this felt different. He hadn't answered calls. His phone went straight to voicemail. His apartment was empty. And now his keys were sitting in my mailbox like some kind of message I didn't understand yet. I should have known then. Something was very, very wrong. Before everything fell apart, life felt easy. Not perfect, but stable. My wife and I had our routines. Morning coffee together, arguing over stupid things like whose turn it was to take out the trash, collapsing onto the couch at night. Mark fit into that rhythm effortlessly. He'd show up unannounced sometimes, beer in hand, like it was his second home. My wife would laugh when he did that, actually laugh, not the polite kind. Looking back, I see things I ignored. The way she'd text him directly instead of going through me. The inside jokes I wasn't part of. How he'd linger in the kitchen when I left the room. I trusted both of them completely. That's the part that makes me feel the stupidest now. There were moments, tiny ones, where something felt off. Like I was slightly outside my own life. But you don't jump to betrayal when everything else looks normal. You tell yourself you're overthinking. So I did. Mark started acting strange about a month before he disappeared. He became distant, but only with me. He'd still show up, still joke with my wife, still hang around, but with me, something had shifted. Conversations felt forced. He avoided eye contact sometimes. One night I asked him straight up, "You good?" He shrugged. "Yeah, man. Just tired." But his voice sounded guilty. I didn't push. That's another thing I regret. Meanwhile, my wife was more distracted than usual. Always on her phone. Smiling at messages she wouldn't show me. I remember asking, "Who's got you grinning like that?" She said, "Just Lisa," and locked her phone. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But there was this tiny voice in the back of my head. Not loud enough to accuse. Just enough to make me uneasy. I ignored it. Because the alternative, that something was wrong between the two people I trusted most, didn't feel real. The turning point wasn't dramatic. No screaming. No obvious clue. Just a message. I was using my wife's laptop one evening because mine had died. Her messages popped up automatically. I wasn't snooping. At least, not at first. Then I saw his name. Mark. That alone wasn't weird. They talked. But the preview line said, "Did you tell him?" My stomach dropped. I clicked it before I could stop myself. The conversation wasn't long. Just a few messages. Her. "Not yet. I don't know how." Him. "We can't keep doing this." Her. "I know." That was it. But it was enough. I sat there staring at the screen, trying to make it mean something else. Anything else. But deep down, I already knew. I just didn't want to say it out loud. Because saying it would make it real. I didn't confront her right away. I wish I could say I handled it like an adult, but I didn't. I spiraled. I replayed every interaction between them in my head. Every laugh. Every glance. Every time they were alone together. It was like my entire life had been secretly rewritten, and I was just now reading the real version. That night, she came to bed like nothing was wrong. She kissed me. Said, "Good night." I lay there stiff, staring at the ceiling. I almost said something. But fear stopped me. Not fear of being wrong. Fear of being right. So I waited. I told myself I needed more proof. Like somehow catching them would hurt less than asking the question. It didn't. It just made everything worse. The next day, Mark disappeared. No warning. No explanation. His phone was off. His apartment was cleared out, not messy, not abandoned. Just empty. Like he had planned it. I drove there myself, thinking maybe something happened to him. But there was nothing. No signs of struggle. No note. Just gone. That's when panic set in. I called hospitals. Even considered calling the police. My wife acted concerned too. Maybe he needed space, she said. Her voice was steady. Too steady. I watched her carefully when she said it. Looking for cracks. But she played it perfectly. Or maybe I just didn't want to see the cracks yet. Then 3 days later, his keys showed up in my mailbox. That wasn't random. That was deliberate. And somehow I knew they weren't meant for me. That night, I confronted her. I didn't plan it. It just came out. We were in the kitchen. She was washing dishes. Ordinary moment. I said, "Why did Mark send his keys here?" She froze. Not dramatically. Just enough. "I don't know," she said too quickly. Then I said it. "I saw the messages." Silence. The kind that feels loud. She didn't deny it immediately. That's when my chest started to tighten. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." I laughed. Actually laughed. Because that line is so cliché, and yet somehow, hearing it from her made everything worse. "Then tell me what it is," I said. She turned around, eyes already filling with tears. And in that moment I knew. Before she even spoke. I knew my life was about to split into before and after. "It didn't mean anything," she said. That was her first real answer. I remember staring at her, trying to process how something that clearly meant everything to me could mean nothing to her. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. "Please don't lie," I added. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of my life, completely unaware. "While he was coming here?" I asked. She nodded. That part hit the hardest. Not just the betrayal, but the proximity. My house. My space. My trust. "Did it happen here?" I asked. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I felt sick. Like physically sick. I had to sit down. Everything I thought was solid suddenly felt fake. Manufactured. Like I had been living inside a lie someone else carefully maintained. I wanted details. Even though I knew they'd destroy me. "Why?" I asked. "That's always the question, isn't it?" She cried harder. Said she felt lonely. Said we had grown distant. Said Mark understood her. Every excuse felt like a knife. Because some of it was probably true. We had drifted. But I never stepped outside the marriage. I never betrayed her. "So instead of talking to me, you slept with my friend?" I said. She flinched. "I didn't plan it," she whispered. That made me angry. Because accidents don't last 6 months. Choices do. I asked if it was over. She said yes. Said that's why he left. Because he couldn't handle it anymore. That part almost made me laugh again. He couldn't handle it? What about me? The worst part wasn't even the betrayal. It was how normal everything had looked while it was happening. Family dinners. Movie nights. Our kid playing in the next room while they exchanged glances I didn't understand at the time. I felt humiliated. Like everyone else must have known except me. I started questioning everything. Every memory felt contaminated. Even the good ones. Especially the good ones. Because now I didn't know if they were real or just part of the lie. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined them together. In my house. In my life. I stopped eating properly. Work became impossible to focus on. And the worst part? I still loved her. That's what made everything so confusing. How do you hate someone and love them at the same time? I still don't have a good answer for that. We argued for days. Not just one big explosive fight where everything comes out and then burns itself out. It was worse than that. It was constant. Slow. Repetitive. Like being stuck in a loop where every conversation circled back to the same pain. We'd start talking calmly. At least we'd try. I want to fix this, she would say, voice shaking but controlled. Fix what exactly? I'd respond. Because what we had is gone. She apologized so many times the words started to lose meaning. I'm sorry. Stopped sounding like remorse and started sounding like habit. Like something she said because she didn't know what else to say. I asked her if she loved him. She said no immediately. Too quickly. Then she added, I thought I did for a moment, but it wasn't real. That part stuck with me. For a moment. How long is a moment? Weeks? Months? 6 months? I didn't believe her. Or maybe I didn't want to believe her, because if she did love him, even briefly, then everything between us felt replaceable. Like I was just convenient. I asked why she didn't come to me when things started falling apart between us. She said she was scared. Scared I'd get angry. Scared I wouldn't listen. Scared I'd leave. That word again. Scared. It kept coming up like it justified everything. You were scared to talk to me, I said, but not scared to sleep with him? She didn't answer. She just cried. And that silence, it was louder than anything she could have said. At one point, I asked the question I probably shouldn't have. If I never found out, would you have told me? She froze. Didn't even try to answer. And in that moment, something inside me shut down. Because I realized this wasn't just about what she did. It was about what she was capable of continuing to do. And that scared me more than the affair itself. Our kid noticed. Of course they did. We tried to act normal at first, forcing small talk at dinner, pretending everything was fine, keeping our voices down when we argued late at night. But kids are sharper than we give them credit for. They pick up on tone, on silence, on the way two people stop looking at each other. The house felt different. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just heavy. Like something invisible had settled into every room. I started sleeping in the guest room more often. At first, I told myself it was temporary. Just space. Just time to think. But after a while, it stopped feeling temporary. It became routine. She didn't fight it. Which somehow hurt more than if she had. Friends started asking questions too. Mostly about Mark. Hey, have you heard from him? Did he move or something? We gave the same answer every time. No idea. He just disappeared. We even laughed it off sometimes. Made jokes about him being dramatic. It felt disgusting. Like we were both participating in some shared lie. I never told anyone the truth. Not my parents. Not my closest friends. No one. People assume that when something like this happens, you need to talk about it. But I couldn't. Because saying it out loud meant admitting that I was that guy. The one whose wife cheated on him with his friend. The one who didn't see it coming. The one who got blindsided in his own home. So I kept it in. Every thought. Every image. Every question. I carried it around like something heavy in my chest, pretending I was fine. Going to work. Smiling when I had to. Acting like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. And I think part of me started breaking right there, not just from what she did, but from how alone I felt dealing with it. Weeks passed. Then months. Mark never came back. No calls. No texts. No closure. If that even exists in situations like this. Just gone. Like he erased himself from our lives the same way he erased himself from his apartment. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering where he was. If he thought about any of this. If he felt guilty. Or if he just moved on like it was nothing. There were nights where I'd imagine running into him somewhere. Replaying what I'd say. What I'd do. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't give me back what I lost. My wife tried. I'll give her that. She really did try. She suggested therapy. Book sessions. Sat there and answered questions honestly, or at least, as honestly as I could tell. She gave me access to her phone. Her messages. Everything. Total transparency. The kind people say is necessary to rebuild trust. And I went along with it. I nodded. Participated. Spoke when I had to. But inside, something wasn't reconnecting. It was like trying to glue together something that had shattered into too many pieces. You can stick it back together, sure. But it's never the same shape again. I started checking her phone. Not obsessively at first. Just occasionally. Then more often. Looking for anything, any sign that something was off again. Every notification made my chest tighten. Every unknown name made me suspicious. I hated that version of myself. I used to trust her completely. Now I was turning into someone who needed proof just to feel okay. And the worst part? Even when I found nothing, I still didn't feel okay. Because trust isn't just about evidence. It's about feeling safe. And I didn't feel safe anymore. Not with her. Not in my own life. In the end, there wasn't a big, dramatic breaking point. No screaming match where we decided it was over. No final betrayal. Just exhaustion. Emotional exhaustion. The kind that builds slowly until you realize you don't have anything left to give. We kept trying for a while. Going to therapy. Having long conversations. Setting boundaries and expectations. All the things you're supposed to do. But it felt like we were following instructions from a manual written for someone else's relationship. Because no matter what we did, the feeling didn't come back. That sense of comfort. Of trust. Of being us. It was gone. And I started noticing something. Every time she touched me, my mind would drift. Not to something pleasant. To him. To the two of them. To questions I didn't even want to ask anymore. Every time she smiled at her phone, I felt that same familiar drop in my stomach. That same instinctive fear. It never went away. Not once. And I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't living in a marriage anymore. I was surviving inside it. Walking on emotional eggshells. Pretending progress was happening when really, I was just getting better at hiding how broken I felt. So one night, after another quiet dinner where we barely spoke, I said it. I don't think I can do this anymore. She didn't look surprised. She just looked tired. Like she had been waiting for me to say it. There was no argument. No attempt to convince me to stay. Just silence. And then she nodded. And that was it. Years of history, ending in a quiet, almost polite agreement. We separated not long after. No drama. No big announcement. We told people it was mutual. That we grew apart. It sounded cleaner that way. Easier to explain. But the truth was anything but clean. It was messy. Complicated. And it didn't end when we separated. It followed me. It's been a year now. And I wish I could say I've fully moved on. That I've processed everything, learned my lessons, and come out stronger. But the truth is, it still lingers. Not all the time. But in moments. Random, unexpected moments. I'll be making coffee, and suddenly I'll remember something small, the way she used to laugh at his jokes. Or I'll hear a certain phrase, and it'll remind me of him. Of them. And it's like getting pulled back into something I'm trying to leave behind. I don't think about Mark as much anymore. Not in a direct way. I don't sit there wondering where he is or what he's doing. That part of it faded. What stayed is something else. Something heavier. The awareness of how close it all was. How it happened right in front of me. How easily trust can exist, right up until it doesn't. I think a lot about the signs I ignored. Not in a self-blaming way, at least I try not to. But more like, trying to understand how I missed it. How I convinced myself everything was fine when it wasn't. And I still don't have a clear answer. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe when you trust someone, you choose not to see certain things. Because the alternative is too painful to consider. If there's anything I've learned, it's not something neat or inspiring. It's just this. People are complicated. Relationships are fragile. And sometimes, the people you feel safest with are the ones who can hurt you in ways you never saw coming. I still haven't fully processed it. I'm not sure I ever will. But writing this, even anonymously, feels like the closest I've come to actually facing it. So yeah? That's it. That's the story I've been carrying around. And I guess now, it's not just mine anymore.